Ireland has decided to double down, which is quite a response. Now, for people who don't know, you may have noticed there was a bit of an uprising quite recently in Ireland because, well, mass immigration caused problems. Who could have seen that coming? And the resentment built up until there was one incident, which was an Algerian man stabbing a bunch of kids. And instead of saying that this was our strength, people got a bit upset and started burning down the neighborhood in protest because they literally can't voice their opinion in politics properly anymore. So, what's the response to that? What do you do if you're the prime minister of a country, but that's all just happened? You might think a couple of things. I would have thought maybe we should tone it down a bit.
Apologise and change tact.
That would be a good one.
Start the deportations.
That would be nice as well. That's a good idea.
I've got a better idea.
All right.
You make it illegal to point out the problem.
Well, that's another option.
Yes.
So what I thought might happen is that they do the British government thing for about a week, kind of ignore it if you can, put up some placards that say, stronger together, some kids getting stabbed is our strength.
Get some government organised crowd to start chanting songs. What would be the Irish equivalent of "Don't Look Back in Anger"?
I don't know.
Don't look back in anger. I don't know.
Get to the IRA. I don't know. Whatever.
I don't know.
So the point being, they would sort of like hush for a bit, keep it on the down low. And instead, that's not what's happened. The government has instead doubled down its position. Now, here is just the details that came out, because, of course, when we left off, it wasn't actually sure what had happened in the event. Specifically, we didn't really know the chap's background. It was just a rumor that started a riot, and that was the story. Well, now it's been confirmed that this chap here is Algerian. As you see, suspect in Dublin stabbing was charged with knife possession May of this year, but never convicted. So that's good news.
Do you guys have any understanding as to why this was an issue in Ireland? Because in France, children just get stabbed fairly regularly and they just sort of gloss over it.
Well, they imported a lot of Algeria. And Ireland decided, well, if we did the same. Huh?
Yeah, but it's not obvious to me as to why the Irish are reacting correctly, whereas the French are just like, oh, yes, more children are being stabbed.
Two reasons. The Irish, this is a much more recent phenomenon for the Irish. For France, this has been happening for ages. Right. Ireland, it's very recent. Two, among European peoples, Irish are uniquely collectivist, as far as I can tell, because they have been subjugated.
Well, they have ethnic consciousness.
Yeah, they've got ethnic consciousness. They recognize themselves as distinct people rather than a floating set of values. And so they see them.
Yes.
They're more likely to see themselves being attacked as being attacked.
And I suppose they never went through that colonial phase, did they? I mean,
they got colonized.
Apart from the pubs that they sent.
Anyway, but the point being, news came out. Guy was Algerian. He was meant to have been, charged with a crime this year. Wasn't. It was a knife possession charge. Not new either. As you can see, there was more information that came out from the Irish Independent here, in which they say that an Algerian man kidnapped and raped an Irish girl. This is in the year 2000. And he got 6 years in prison, and the judge told him that if he was Irish, he would have been sentenced to 10.
Hi folks, sorry to interrupt the video, but I just wanted to announce that we have a new line of merch in our merch store. The merch store was kind of empty for a while, and so I thought, right, okay, what do I actually want on shirts? And so I just went through some of the most epic and true things that I think that historical people have said, and John managed to make an amazing set of merch out of it. And we will have extra things coming in the store, such as posters for these to go on. Thanks for everything, folks. Now back to the video.
So he explicitly said, "Don't worry, we're going easy on you because you're foreign."
Yeah, so you can see here, this is a long-running problem in the Western societies. We've documented it a lot, but it's a good example here of the Irish situation, in which a judge literally told an Algerian criminal, if he was Irish, he would have been actually thrown the book at. But because he's Algerian, boy just had a little bit of a muck-up.
We know you can't help yourself.
And the information also came out that the man in the case this time round, who was done for the stabbing, as you can see there in the news, this man, originally from Algeria, has been living in Ireland for the past 2 decades, and he took Irish citizenship more than a decade ago. So we're talking about the guy who actually sparks the violence here. He moved to Ireland 10 years after living there, got citizenship, lived there for another 10 years, goes on the stabbing rampage. And you might ask, well, why did it take 10 years? What was going on? Is he just as Irish as the famine? No, it turns out not. So he was issued with a deportation order in the year of 2003. He should have been kicked out. He fought the deportation order with the help of non-governmental organizations, and in 2008 was granted leave to remain. If he had been deported in 2003, obviously no one would have been stabbed. So, okay, you got a couple problems there. Got the law not enforced, national borders not enforced. So, priorities, if you're the Prime Minister. Enforce the laws, make sure criminals get prison, and foreign criminals get to deport, and enforce deportations so that the orders are actually real and not just on paper. Well, that wasn't the
and also, at a minimum, just swap that thing around, where if you're a foreigner and you commit crime in that country, you get punished worse, which is what happens everywhere else.
For some reason, just not in the Western nations, which
Yes.
is a weird kind of self-hatred.
Like in most countries around the world, even as something as simple as having a traffic accident, you will basically be assumed to be at fault if you're a foreigner on the simple basis that if you weren't in the country, then the accident could not have happened, and therefore it is your fault.
But we in the West, we apply the laws equally, we tell ourselves, which means doing the exact opposite, which is not equal. Amazing. So the immediate response was not to consider those two problems and to solve them. It was instead to issue a press release in which, as you can see here, the PM came out and said he's going to crack down on free speech. Cool.
I can't believe that a half Indian man would do such a thing to the Irish.
Well, he wants hate speech convictions for those who were angered.
Is he half Indian?
Yes.
I believe so. So that's where all the memes
Because Irish names are so weird that I didn't actually pick that up.
Varadkar is not an Irish name.
Yes, but Irish names are quite weird.
Irish names are weird, but
Yes.
they're not Indian.
Yes. Well,
Anyway.
now I see it.
The details of this are not just he wants the same laws that England has, of course. It's worse. We think we went over this somewhat, but here's the writing, as you can see it there, in which the offense is possessing material likely to incite hatred.
Prepares or possesses. So you could actually make a meme and only you could ever see it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's 5 years jail.
Yeah, and they have the right to access your phone and PC upon request. And if you deny them your password, you go to jail.
And that's about as close to 1984 wrong think as you can get.
You could also be offensive preparing. You could be in the middle of photoshopping this spicy meme.
I haven't even written the I or the G yet, and I am already in jail.
And then all of a sudden, the Irish Stasi burst through your door.
They're doing this in every country, these hate speech laws. It just kind of feels that they're going for the absolute maximum that they think they can get away with. And clearly in Ireland, they think they can get away with a lot more.
It's a proper speed run, and we can see the details. Because
from what I can tell, this seems to be a last-ditch desperate attempt to completely ban all opposition because they're recognizing that people are starting to develop a recognition of the problem outside of the fringe circles it used to happen in.
The popular mood is not going the globalists' way, and they know it.
There should be another link in there, John, if we could, because that's the same one twice instead of the one I put in, which is that there's a note from someone explaining the details, which I believe he's got it. Thanks, John. In which they say, people don't realize how extreme Ireland's hate speech bill is. Up to 12 months in prison for refusing to give your password on your devices if suspected of committing hate speech. 12 months for refusing to allow the state to read your messages between you and your spouse. That's a pretty terrible law. And something that obviously goes way beyond what any other Western country has done. I mean, even in that previous example, you can notice this is a German person making fun of Ireland here because of hate speech laws in Ireland being worse than Germany.
Yes. When Germans are making fun of your totalitarianism levels, it's not good. But I mean, also, you could presumably have a slightly older phone which you have forgotten the password for, and it's fine, 12 months in jail then.
Potentially, yes.
Because they just won't believe that you don't know the password.
And of course, these laws will be applied as they are in the rest of the world, which is against people we don't like.
Well, yes.
In which case, we will just do everything bad.
Which will be the natives.
We'll get to that next. But you can see, this is now a crime. As you can see here, this was a crime in the UK, in which someone, Lawrence Fox here, posted the pride flag 4 times. That got him a visit from the police. And then we have this guy. This was a Met police officer. He'd left the Met years ago now. But as you can see, BBC Newsnight did a wonderful investigation. They're defending the public because the police won't. What did BBC Newsnight come up with? He shared a meme. As you can see here, they describe the meme. They don't show you it because that's the meme. That's what he got arrested for. He's been charged with a crime.
About that?
So this is a joke about race, as you can see there at the bottom.
Oh no, I chuckled. I'm off to prison, boys.
You are indeed. And it's not just members of the public or ex-police officers. I actually dug through. Never mind. There should be another thing in there, but oh well. In which there was actually police officers being sent to jail in the police force as well. But getting to Ireland, because as you can see here, Ireland's Green Party senator decided to come out and say, we are restricting freedom for the common good. And this blew up a lot, as you can see.
I would not have chosen that top. She looks like she's been seagulled.
Yeah, that's true. Let's listen to what she has to say.
Think about it. All law All legislation is about the restriction of freedom. That's exactly what we're doing here, is we are restricting freedom, but we're doing it for the common good. You will see throughout our Constitution, yes, you have rights, but they are restricted for the common good. Everything needs to be balanced. And if your views on other people's identities go to make their lives unsafe, insecure, and cause them such deep discomfort that they cannot live in peace, then I believe that it is our job as legislators to restrict those freedoms for the common good.
Your thoughts are causing me pain.
What a massive, and I can't say it, she is.
I believe we should have restrictions for anybody entering politics that if you have crazy ex-girlfriend eyes, you should immediately be barred.
You're gone. Well, it's not sexist. It's a place for men and women.
Yeah, men can have it too.
But yeah, very much Longhouse vibes, where your thoughts are causing me not to be able to live my life
And
without
just
pain.
the whole bloody, for the common good, for the common good. But
For the greater
she
good.
defines what the common good is.
Of course.
So basically, it's just totalitarianism.
Well, that's a weird response. This doubling down on let's just lock up everyone who criticizes us. Good luck with that one. The Prime Minister also decided to put out a message about the same time. He was trying to stay silent on the issue of the stabbing and instead decided to put out this statement. This is a day of enormous joy and relief for Emily Hand and her family. An innocent child who was lost and has now been found and returned. We are able to breathe a massive sigh of relief. Our prayers have been answered. And obviously what he doesn't tell you is the community notes now bring up. She wasn't lost. She didn't fall down a well. She was abducted by Hamas.
Yes.
There you are. Great. I just... Someone who's not interested in their own land, not interested in the crimes on their own soil, would rather talk about foreign crimes. And even then, it's just like, wow, she fell down a well.
Doesn't make it sound like a crime.
And I've pointed this out, and I'm sure there will be exceptions in our audience, and we know exceptions personally, but within the Western nations, if you get people of mixed heritage like Mr. Varadkar, it's incredibly rare, especially if they're in positions of political importance, that they will identify with their European ancestry. They will always identify with the foreign ancestry because
at least some respect.
Yeah, it gives them victim points. It gives them victim points, and they want, for some reason, they would rather curry favor.
It's deeper than that, isn't it? Like if I went to Russia and became a Russian member of parliament, right? I'm still going to have my past.
Mm-hmm.
And even my kids are going to have the ethnic past as well of being attached to the UK. So there's always
going
to
be have concrete ties to these lands.
Yeah, there's going to be something outside of the Russian people which I'm going to be sympathetic towards over the Russian people at times. Yeah, it's like, okay, that's just true.
And people with that kind of background, like Mr. Varadkar, oftentimes they will see the plight of any foreign peoples as the plight of themselves because they recognize as a bloc, half of their ancestry is alien to this.
I find that hilarious.
So any threat on it is a threat to them.
But it's such a good example of what you're saying, because to this part where the foreign crime here, so the kidnapping of a young girl and then the exchanging of her for prisoners, that is something he must defend. He must use his language carefully as to not offend the sensible sensibilities of Hamas. But whereas those people rioting in Dublin, God, use the worst language possible to describe them. But Hamas, you've got to be very polite about. I mean, it shows you're correct. Where is your worldview at?
Where's your loyalty?
Where's your sympathy at? Where is your sensibilities at exactly? Who are you sensible for? Who are you sympathetic for? Well, it's not your own people, by your own actions. And they responded even more transparently that that's the case by, as has been previously looked at, Conor McGregor is being investigated by the Irish police for hate speech, for daring to say maybe a bunch of foreigners stabbing our kids is not strength. Maybe that's bad.
Maybe there was a reason that all of these people took to the streets.
Well, I think we found it. It's the far right. They're the reason. Because now we get on to my favorite part.
Every time.
Which is the local Irish response. The most Irish of Irish people have all come out and said, the far right, those people who are upset about the stabbing, they don't stand for us. We in Dublin, who work for Google.
We hear you're far right now, Father.
Well, they just said the Irish people have come out in force to tell us, actually, the Irish are not represented by the far right. That is nonsense. Those people only believe in hate. We can see it here by Abdullah. Abdullah has come to tell us.
This gentleman, yes.
What happened in Dublin City yesterday is absolutely sickening, and we must strongly condemned by all respected Irish men and women, such as Abdullah. Ireland is based on immigration. Ireland is based on immigration. Okay. Yep. Strong English vibes there.
Yep.
And every immigrant is welcome here. Okay, cool. Thanks, Abdullah. I mean, this first.
I wonder if he has any incentive to promote this kind of view.
Oh no, who knows? Carl there. Okay, colonizer. Yeah. There's another series of people who came out in response. Most of them had flags in their bios for some reason. Dublin is literally on fire, and the perpetrators are military-aged men from Ireland. Immigrants are not the people destroying this country.
So to break it to you, Leon, fighting aged men only counts as an effective comment when they're illegally crossing your borders. Not, oh my God, Ireland has Irish men of fighting age in it?
Bro, what the hell? I thought we killed them all.
We need some sort of serum that takes them from 13 to 58 immediately.
Yeah.
I mean, if the claim was that Ireland was only full of women and children, and that Ireland had no Irish men in it,
we would need some fighting age men.
Yeah, then maybe he would have a point. But
I can't not notice chap and stance that this chap here also has a foreign flag in his bio. Amazing. Now, this happened again with this guy here. He decided to turn up and say, we're supposed to be coming together, not burning our own city down. Thank you, Timmy. That's fantastic. Good to have your opinion.
Oh, actually, he's called Timmy as well.
Yeah. Can't pronounce the last one, so I won't bother. But the point being that obviously these people are not the most Irish of Irish people, and Ireland is very ethnically conscious. So,
Oganyemi?
yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
And we'll go to the last one here, because this is the best example of people who obviously have recently, in historical terms, gone to Ireland and now decided that this is, they speak for Ireland, not anyone else. And as you can see here, a proud migrant has turned up. And this is my favorite clip out of all of this in the response section.
And then I know they're targeting immigrants. I'm proud to be Irish, but I'm even more proud to be an immigrant. My parents came here in 1997 and from war-torn Burundi, everything was bombed. They left with nothing. So knowing that I come from very humble beginnings, a lot of asylum seekers regret their circumstances and they want nothing more than to integrate and to contribute to society, pay their taxes, and just be a part of a new Ireland. Like, I just think we're not the problem.
I'm gonna end it there because she just goes on, but I love that.
But she speaks
so much.
She speaks in an Irish accent, so she must be Irish.
I'm more proud to be an immigrant than I am to be Irish.
I mean, there it is, and that's how most of them will feel.
Yeah.
And once again, they're seeing any attack on the idea of asylum seekers in general, because that's their background, is an attack on them.
I think I have discovered a trend.
No, they're all Irish.
Yeah, that's the trend. I love the idea here as well that I'm going to move to Ireland. I'm just going to integrate into a new Ireland. Well, if you were integrating into the old Ireland, you'd have to become Catholic and take up zero housing stock, which I don't think you can do any of them.
Well, and when you're more proud of being an immigrant, I mean, you're leaving the door open that you've got alternatives. The people of Ireland, the people who are tad upset, they don't have an alternative. They don't have anywhere else to go. They don't have something that they're more proud of. They only have Ireland.
And a lot of these people will still have relatives in those countries. So they have a home to go back to.
Yeah.
A get out clause.
It's not just that they have a nation in the abstract that they can go back to that will accept them. They have concrete ties of people who care about them, who will let them into their homes. Who do the Irish have other than the Irish on Ireland?
Yeah.
Maybe some in America.
I was going to say maybe the Irish diaspora in America.
That's about it.
But even then, I think a lot of the European descended Americans, that we can tell from survey results, they don't care that much.
But also, like, what was the point in any of the revolution if we're all just going to go to America? And what was the point in the Easter uprising? Literally nothing, apparently. But she ends off a section here I should have played, which is even funnier. She goes on to say,
use their unhappiness to, have an excuse for their bigotry. It's just growing up where I grew up, like, there were a group of people that probably weren't best educated and used, my family moving into an estate as the first Black family as an excuse to, cause fires around our house or egg us and everything like that. Because, maybe it scares them. I don't know. They're not used to having people that are not Irish around them. No education. But it just takes a bit of integration, getting to know these people, knowing that they want nothing more than to work and contribute to this country. And they don't want to cause any of this havoc that is going on right now. And the people that are saying, oh, immigrants are destroying Dublin, you're the ones destroying Dublin. Yeah. Look at last night. Like, there's not one immigrant inside on the streets looting. And then I know...
Obviously, before I go further, racism bad. Yeah. What do you want? You think that's new? But I love the end line there. Not a single immigrant was out there looting. Except the guy caught on camera looting. That's clearly foreign. mean, that's one. Let's just go on camera there, but whatever. Let's just not bother about facts. Not important. The more fundamental aspect there being, well, you're the ones destroying Dublin. And this is really the problem. I love this. This person here who puts, never forget, far-right racists did this, not immigrants, and it's a burnt-out tram. And there was a guy who commented on this, it's great, which he said, libtards really think that a burnt-down bus is worse than stabbed and raped kids. And it's true.
Libtards think that an atmosphere of fear or racism is worse than stabbed kids. They're more than happy to hide the truth to prevent the chance that people might get their feelings hurt.
Like, sincerely, which one is destroying Ireland? This riot, which burnt a bus and a tram, that's bad. Or stabbing kids. Stabbing kids, that's the worst one, I would have thought. And it goes on because this other response from it, which is to say, actually, immigrants are saving our lives. Look over here.
This was so obvious. The second that this came out, it started being promoted immediately after the trouble started. Couldn't be clearer propaganda.
Brazilian Deliveroo rider used his helmet to strike the man who knifed a woman and the 3 children. See? Immigrants are saving us from other immigrants. That's why we need more immigrants.
Man's a bit non-specific.
Yeah. They go on, as you can see, Drodka made a beautiful post. And it's like, you have a new debate in society? Look, obviously, most immigrants are not insane. Let's not be crass bigots about it. Therefore, logically, the more of them you have, we can more protect Ireland from the migrants who are mental. What a beautiful policy. We need
logic.
Logic is very
infallible.
Yeah.
And it went on to celebrate. Actually, migrants are saving us, not doing anything bad at all because they're angels. This guy decided to put out this. I was set upon by a group of immigrants in Dublin yesterday. They gave me a triple heart bypass and saved my life. Okay? What's that got to do with the price of eggs? It's got nothing to do with the conversation whatsoever. I mean, I just love this BS line anyway. This whole like, oh, don't you know that immigrants are saving us? They actually run the NHS. They run all health workers around the world. Well, here's just going over to the UK real quick. NHS staff from overseas, the statistics. And there's a breakdown here, of course, of the different parts. And yeah, it's bollocks. Whole narrative's bollocks. What did you think?
I will say, having been to the NHS a few times in recent months, in my recent experience, those members of the NHS who are from immigrant backgrounds are above and beyond the worst members of staff that they have there.
You've interacted with?
That I've interacted with, yeah. A lot of them are highly incompetent.
But it depends on what you're dealing with.
And that's not to say that every single one of them are, but from my own experiences, this vital necessity that we bring all of these people over means that we're mainly importing people over who don't do as good a job as all of them.
But will work for less.
Yeah, and will work for less.
But that's not my point today. My point today is to make this question about, are they the ones saving us from death's door?
And also I note that basically it's saying that 81% of the NHS staff are British, which is broadly in line with the amount that are British in the population as a whole.
Nope.
So isn't that right?
Point. No. So about 25% of the UK population is not British.
Okay, right. So the British are actually overrepresented in the NHS.
Yeah, 19% of NHS staff are non-British, but 25% of the population isn't.
Right.
So massively underrepresented. Shock that, turns out. The usual suspects are obviously the most large examples. Pakistanis, for example, are 2.3% of the UK population, but only 0.6% of NHS staff. And that's staff. We're not even talking about highly paid consultants or whatever. This went on. The response from the UK to this event was migrants pay more into the system than they take out in benefits. They're more likely to be treated by an immigrant in the NHS than be one behind one in the queue.
That's a blatant lie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not true.
Just factually wrong on every count. I mean, someone here fact-checking, because obviously this is the narrative that came over to the UK as well. It's, funnily enough, immigrants aren't all highly paid consultants. In fact, quite a lot of them are quite the opposite. As you can see here, the amount living in social housing in London, for Black African, it's 44%, whereas the average is 17% for the whole population. Bangladesh overrepresented, Chinese underrepresented, Indians massively underrepresented. And it goes on. And that's just social housing. Then you could look at income. You could look at, well, as you can see here, unemployment. I'm so bored. I'm so bored of this stupid narrative that without foreigners, the UK would sink into the sea. It's just not true on any tier. But to end this off, the MMA king has spoken.
Oh, good.
I mean, this is the conversation, of course. We want less children stabbing. We want to stab children. I don't know. Where could we go? But the MMA king has come out and said something at the end of his tweet, which I missed last time, in which he says, there will be a change in Ireland, mark my words. The change is needed. In the last month, innocent children were stabbed leaving a school. Ashley Murphy was murdered, I believe by a Slovakian there, and 2 Siglo men decapitated. This is not Ireland's future. If they will not act soon with their plan of action to ensure Ireland's safety, I will. So I'm looking forward to the Conor McGregor party, to be honest.
Well, he's being investigated at the moment, isn't he? Probably because of statements like this.
Well, because he's a threat. That's
Yep.
really it.
Yeah.
And in which case, keep going. And if you want to support us, you can always go over, as I should mention something about the website here, to the merch store, which is now live. So do go and enjoy. If you appreciated that episode from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content that's on the site, such as the Lads Hours, this one on whether or not you could survive a zombie apocalypse. If you'd like to find out what else is being put out, you can follow on Twitter at @LotusEaters_com on Twitter. Thank you and goodbye.